And here we are again. I just kind of ditched my lunch break.
Who needs lunch? Lunch is for sissies.
It is. I'm very happy to have Ina Fried from Recode over here. Ex-Wall Street Journal, now at Recode.
Yeah.
Exciting times for you.
It is. Things are going really well. You know, I'm doing my second mobile conference with a colleague, so we're planning that for October. So always looking for the next big thing.
You went from zero to hero with Recode, right? That was just amazing. Great lounge, great site.
It was pretty fun. You know, we kind of didn't get a holiday break. You know, we wrote for the old site till December 31st, and then January 2nd started with the new thing, but it seems to have worked out.
Isn't that amazing how the kind of tech publishing industry changed so radically just in the last 2 years? Yeah. We've had this kind of Engadget Verge split, and then David Polk left the New York Times, started Yahoo Tech. Brian Heder also went over to Yahoo Tech. Yeah. Now you guys went from the Wall Street Journal to Recode. Joanna from ABC News over to the Wall Street. Oh my God, who's just like shuffling some cards here?
I think it shows, though, the broad interest in tech. I think it's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're also on some panels over here during the global conference. Are you actually hosting some panels, right?
Yeah, it's been fun. So I moderated a session yesterday with a bunch of different players in mobile commerce. Okay. So it was PayPal, it was Deutsche Telekom, a couple startups. You know, really looking at, you know, what's it going to take for us to actually be able to use our phones as our wallets?
Right. Is this finally going to be the next big thing? You know
what is it going to take?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think everyone's clear that it's going to happen. I think, you know, my take on it is that one of the big hurdles is not the technology. I actually think we have all the technology we need. Yeah. It's dividing up the pie. You know, I think you have the Googles of the world, you have the carriers, you have Visa, you have all these folks that are like, we just want a couple percent, but there aren't that many couple percents to go around.
Right. It's interesting that we're still talking about mobile payment. My very first startup 14 years ago was called eWallet. That was infrared at that time, right? And it was pretty cool over Palm Pilots and stuff. And we were kind of thinking of, you know what, you will have all these shops and you're walking by with your Palm Pilot and you're getting the latest bargains on it. But it never really took off.
But, you know, it could have worked. It wasn't the technology.
Exactly.
You know, it's a mindset and it's a business model thing. Yeah. You know, the Palm Pilot had all the things we needed. I remarked that we still use business cards because you remember, you know, when we were nerdy, we used to beam contacts.
That was the big thing on the show floor at that time, right? Yeah. You needed to have a Palm Pilot just to kind of beam your business card over, and I really like it. It's kind of weird that we're still not there. We were trying to use a very complicated way of using the NFC technology, and I think it just makes no sense at all. Why do I need to touch it? I just want to see your phone here, just maybe even really visualize it, right? So what kind of phones I can see there, bang, beam it over there.
Well, you know, the Palm Pilot's technology was better than what we have today. I mean, you could hold down that contact button and it would, you know, squirt across. So
it's mobile payment, obviously, a huge topic over here, but the other big topic is, okay, you know what, I could do the perfect bullshit bingo when we need to describe what's going on in the last couple of days. Big data, security, cloud, Industry 4.0, and something is missing. Smart grid.
Oh, smart grid.
Smart grid is another good one.
I haven't heard too much smart grid, but I have been getting some pictures about great data.
Well, Internet of Things. Oh my God, I just almost forgot it.
I mean, to me, the big data and privacy thing has been the most interesting discussion here because I feel like Europe is really concerned with what does it mean to have all this data, and I think it's the right question to ask. I think it's a tough world. I mean, you know, nobody seems to have answers. It was really funny at the global conference. Eugene Kaspersky gave a talk, and at the end, the moderator asked him, "Who are you more afraid of, the NSA or all the cyber criminals in the world?" And he didn't answer. He just laughed, which I think is answer enough. You know, I think Europe really feels strongly and should that, you know, if we're going to collect all this data, we have to know what's going to happen with it.
Oh, absolutely. Not all of Europe. There is a little island in the northwest, and actually their prime minister opened up CeBIT. The guy from who's in control of a secret service, right, that is just spying all over us, was just talking about privacy and data security. Was quite interesting, right? But yes, there's a huge concern. But guess what happened since then? Nothing. we don't care. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. We're lazy and we're sucked into these ecosystems of Google and Apple and whatnot. It's just so, it feels so exhausting to change these habits. Everything is so convenient.
It's really hard. And in the United States, certainly, I feel like every time privacy comes up, it comes up as a blip. Everyone's concerned for 10 minutes. They're up in arms, and then they're back to using the same clouds that they were concerned about 5 minutes ago. And I feel like it's never a sustained concern, and it never leads to much change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, we all know that we're giving up a little bit of our identity in order to use these services to get value back into our lives. And I think that we can't move backwards now that we've seen the value, like with Google Now. I mean, like, I love it.
I've really seen it for the first time here, and I've noticed, it'll pop up the weather and currency conversions and all this stuff. It's really the first time that I've noticed a real value in it, but I'm like, that's pretty useful. And again, you're not really thinking, well, what are all the pieces of my data that it has to use to gather that?
Yeah.
It's a deal, right? It's data as somehow as a currency, right? And I mean, if there's a service for free on the internet, right? Somehow they have to monetize, and of course they're going to monetize it with your data.
Well, in Germany, it's interesting because there's much more value placed on it. In the States, I remember there was an experiment where many people would give out their email password for, they would give away their email password for like a candy bar. So I think that tells you how much the average American values their privacy. Business, it's different, and I do think if any change happens, it's going to be because the Googles and Microsofts of the world are losing business overseas. That would be the only thing I can see that would force some change.
Like yesterday I had Rush from McAfee over here, and he's from the UK, and we were talking about like a kind of value card to get a free coffee. And then he asked me, guess how much it costs you to get this free coffee? And I was like, I have no idea. £75, and people are doing it. They're investing £75 and actually also giving away a lot of data because it's also about, behavior when you want to get a coffee, and this data is collected. So you know what? A free coffee, you're paying £75 to get a free coffee. But you would also, on the other hand, people are lining up and they're just giving away personal data and their email address just to get a free coffee because it's so convenient. Just 2 clicks, bang, there it is. I'm getting my free coffee, and there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I notice in order to get Wi-Fi at a lot of places, you get 30 minutes of free Wi-Fi, some small amount, but you have to let them have a bunch of information. They have to text you a code, which means they have your mobile phone number.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're going to do with it? I do think that value equation, right now consumers put a pretty low value when they're actually forced to vote with their wallet.
It never really changed. I mean, when I look back at software policies, when I install a new software, like 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago, no one ever read this at all.
No.
Right?
Oh, the little... Yeah. No, I mean, it used to be... I remember, they used to have the license agreement, and I'm dating myself, but, the floppy disks would come in a little envelope. Basically, you would agree that by ripping open the package that you were agreeing to the terms. Now you have to click some bit of text that you haven't read.
There's this fantastic South Park episode when Kyle is sitting at the bar and the Apple Secret Service is coming in, right? And you agree to our policies, and now we're going to take you. Right? That was hilarious. But it's happening, and even though that I really thought this is kind of a shift of paradigm when the Snowden affair came up, and I'm pretty sure we were all somehow aware. We constantly thought that we're getting spied at. But what's so shocking about this was that on which level this was happening. And how huge these masses of data that are getting generated due to this. But even though that we knew about it, and we got a lot of comments, I always knew it, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to change anything if you always knew it. I still think that a lot of people really need to get educated about privacy. And you know what? It needs to start, in my opinion, from elementary school on. We need to have classes about, let's say, kind of new media education.
Well, I was talking really briefly after she spoke on Monday with Nellie Kroes, who the EU commissioner, who's really focused on this stuff. And I was saying, because they've been saying all the right things in terms of we want protections without protectionism, and I was like, yeah, but how do you really do that? And I think education is the one thing that everyone feels like you can definitely do. And I think if the EU Commission had its way, I think there would be mandatory classes, and I think at least knowing what you're agreeing to is a good thing.
I think it's a problem for societies if a 5th grader is more tech savvy than his teachers.
Yeah.
Right? This can't be. Right? We really need to change that.
And they've grown up, though. I think that what will be very interesting to see is the decisions that they make, because I think they've grown up never really expecting privacy. And whether they value it will be really interesting, because, they're used to sharing everything. A lot of people have speculated that when they go for their first job interview and, their college binges are on Facebook, that's going to be the turning point. We'll see.
Yeah. What's going to happen? Each and every company is just looking through all these social media and networks and through your blogs and just kind of trying to get more data for the potential employees.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, people are losing jobs because of their positions and statements on social media. So it makes sense that they may not get a job because if they're too reckless on social media.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I assume that most things that I say or post, I assume the world is going to see
Absolutely.
them. Even if I share it, quote, with my friends on Facebook, I have enough, again, friends on Facebook that I assume that could, I tend to take that attitude with anything I say, that, if I say it here, I should assume that everyone that I might or might not want to hear it is going to say it. And I think taking that approach in our world makes sense. It's acknowledging the reality that it's probably not a private conversation.
Yeah.
It's a matter of taking care of your personal brand equity online.
Yeah.
And you know what? When we're looking back like 1,500 years, and you were living in a village with 250 citizens, and there was only one pub in this little village, everybody knew the next day if you were just going on a rampage in there and you weren't paying your bills or whatever, you puked all over the front desk, all right. So why should you do this online right now, where millions of people can watch it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm so online that I actually like the fact that people are accountable for what they say, because I'm like the anonymous factor sometimes emboldens people to be real dicks.
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, I think if you look at the comment section of any blog, I think it's really interesting to see a couple of the tools that have become popular recently. There's this app that's having its 15 minutes of fame secret, where people are getting that anonymous voice back, and I'm sure at some point they'll have a security breach, and it will be interesting to see what happens if everyone's name is attached to those snarky comments. I mean, I make many a snarky comment, but always with my name attached to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Like if I say something, I'm saying it. And
exactly. It's just, I mean, especially on YouTube. I mean, even though that they switched over to the Google Plus comment system, which makes it a little bit easier for us to really ban some trolls and some real assholes. I'm really saying it like this because I mean it.
Yeah.
It's just the gutter of the internet sometimes.
I really do. That's one area where I actually just have decided not to read. For a while on YouTube, I would get an email every time someone posted a comment, and that was the one thing I switched off, and I can say I'm a happier person not knowing what people say on YouTube. I generally don't read the comment section, and not because I don't genuinely care what interesting things people have to say about what I write, what I say, whatever, but it's so rare that the comments, have anything other than, to tell me I should do my hair differently or worse.
So what's on your schedule for the rest of the week?
I'm really enjoying just going around and discovering. I mean, this is, I don't think the nicest term. I mean this in the best way. It's sort of like a flea market of tech in terms of there's everything here.
Yeah.
I was walking, in the China Hall. It's like going to, in Taiwan to the motherboards and all those. You see all that stuff. A few halls over, you see startups, and then I was for the first time in the halls where the big boys are. So like Software AG and HP and Intel and all these companies have these huge booths. That they've spent a fortune on, and I'm really enjoying just kind of seeing, the robots. Did you see the robot strippers?
The robot strippers.
Oh,
I know, we were talking about that. Yeah.
And I loved their answer. I asked them, "Why are you doing this?" And they're like, "Why not?"
They're over there each and every year.
Every year.
We took a video like 3 years ago, put it up on YouTube, and the comments are hilarious. Oh my God, now I entered the dark side of YouTube.
But I got lost yesterday, and I ended up in a hall that was all cash points. like box ATMs. It was just like, okay, so apparently this is also something I can take a walk through and have a look at.
Yeah, you know those
Yeah.
things that buzz at the restaurant when your table or order is ready?
Oh, yeah.
There's a booth, with the technology behind that. I mean, literally everything you can imagine. So it's kind of I just am enjoying letting my mind kind of wander. And yet there's not a lot of hard news. It's not like the next
Right.
big thing is
No.
probably going to be here. But again, I kind of like that.
It's sometimes somehow about fundamental technologies that we might going to use in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah,
It's kinda neat.
Dan from Engadget was on earlier, and I threw all the buzzwords from the show at him. I'm like, which ones are bullshit and which ones are valuable, right? But we had a big discussion about how CeBIT, I don't know about you guys, but we think that CeBIT is like the less social media version of South by Southwest.
Well, I was saying that actually Chris Ziegler and I from The Verge got into this discussion over Twitter. It's kind of like they're opposites.
Yeah.
And they're both obviously important technology events, but there's this expression, all steak and no sizzle, or all sizzle and no steak. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to South by a couple of years ago, and to me it was all flash and very little substance. I don't want to say no substance. And I feel like CeBIT in a lot of ways is all substance with only robot strippers for Flash.
I think that is a great final statement. I love that. I'm gonna quote you on that one. Ina, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the week. Wir gehen jetzt gleich rüber, haben ein Interview mit dem Frieder Engstfeld von Computer Center, gehen kurz in die Werbung rein und sind in 2-3 Minuten wieder da.